everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are so thrilled to be here tonight in Berkeley. My name is Eden Chan, and I have the distinct honor to serve as District Director for our Congresswoman Lateefah Simon. I did want to, before we jumped in, because these are the people we're going to be helping you all night, I wanted to shout out our district team. We've got Helser, Sky, Ryan, Rachel, as well as our amazing legislative director, Denise, who flew in from DC just to be here with us tonight. And we'll be taking care of you and taking all of your half-sheet question cards. I also want to extend a special thank you to the Ed Roberts campus and to Dr. Pineda for partnering with us and hosting us tonight. Really call it a special place. And I also want to thank Mayor Ishii and your wonderful I want to acknowledge some of our local elected partners who are in the room tonight with us. I want to shout out Councilmember Ben Bartlett, representatives from Senator Harry Dean's office here in the room with us, and the Press's office here with us. Councilmember Lateefah. Oh, well, let's move a little further. And with that, I'd also like to welcome, since we're here in this district, Councilmember Bartlett to come and share some welcome remarks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, a wonderful, wonderful moment. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to South Berkeley.
Yeah.
Welcome to this temple of inclusion. Universal design is for everyone. You know, coming in, Congresswoman, I got winded down like the airport, right? And that's never happened before. Do you know why it's happening? It's because we are at war. And I don't mean Iran, although that is the war, it's happening. But our entire way of life, our entire value set, our entire identity as Berkeleyans and Oaklanders and Californians is besieged upon by an enemy force who is committed to destroying our entire being. And when you're at war, you need a fighter. You need someone who you can trust to defend your identity. And I don't mean race, I don't mean gender, I mean your true identity. Your core being, who you are, your value set. The Congresswoman has led the fight for decades. When the least of us were forgotten in prison, Lateefah was there.
Yes.
She raised money, she built programs, she designed ways up back into life. And now, she fights again. Now, Congressman, I'll share with you a saying my father taught me as a boy. You, my father. There are 3 trusts to live by. 1, trust God to create the moment. Trust yourself, or rather, trust the moment to provide. And 3, trust yourself to meet the moment. Congressman, this is your moment. And this is our moment to join our leader in the fight for our future.
Yeah.
Welcome to the South.
Thank you so much. In case you haven't been able to tell, I will be moderating and facilitating tonight's evening. And so I hold that job with high honor, and I feel the deep responsibility to keep us on time. So I will be doing that, and I ask that in advance for your grace and your patience. I also want to call out that Mayor HE made this time for us, but we'll have to run at 6:45. So during the question and answer portion, we'll be prioritizing some local questions at the top. But basically the flow tonight is we're going to get a little welcome and update from our mayor, then we'll get a little update from our congresswoman, and then after these updates, we're just going to jump right into the Q&A. The half sheets that you guys are filling out are super duper helpful. They help us see, because again, we don't know, we're not going to be able to get to everyone's questions, so we want to see who is asking the most questions in which categories and hit those right at the top so that we can be efficient. And then we will also be passing around the mic as well, because it's really important for us to hear directly from all of you. So that will be the flow of the night. And then with that, I would like to introduce and invite our glorious Mayor, Adina Ishii, to start with some welcome and updates.
I'm gonna stand for a minute, if that's okay. Yeah, sure, that's great. Thank you. I know, always technology problems, right? I really want to thank our Congresswoman for being here this evening. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Adina Ishii. I'm Mayor of the City of Berkeley. I know that some folks here, are coming from outside of our city, so I really want to appreciate all of you who are coming here. And really what I want to just mention in my welcome is just how amazing it is to have a congressperson who actually comes down here to her district to meet with people directly. I think we need to give it up for that. Yeah, we have been having some fun. I have seen our Congresswoman so much in the district, coming out, learning about what's happening with her constituents, and also bringing in money into the district. She has brought in $500,000 to help us with our training facility for the fire department. That is major. We just did a press conference, and she's bringing the money back here to her district. That is and as Councilmember Bartlett said, it's so important that we have a fighter who cares about our values. And I'm very excited to just get a chance to have a chat with you today and hear questions from folks. So let's just jump into it. Yeah.
So let's jump into it. I know that you have a lot to share. And so why don't we do that? Why don't we talk about Berkeley for a second? First of all, hi family. And Don Panetta, thank you so much for being the wind beneath really our disability justice wings in Congress. So much of what we're doing is fighting for folks who are literally dying to survive all over the country. And as a disabled woman, being able to do a town hall in this building, it's a dream come true. This is our space that was built literally through sweat, tears, and through the experiences of thousands of disabled warriors in this region who literally changed the world of how disabled folks move through civil society. So thank you. Let's Berkeley for a second. In DC at this moment, what our district is lifting up, and I do want to get into the mud with you all. We're not going to talk that long. So, hit it.
Yeah, so the Congresswoman has asked me to talk a little bit about what's happening with BART. So we're over here, over the Ashby BART station. We know that we've got some very exciting transit-oriented development projects that are going to be happening here, both at the Ashby BART station and also at North Berkeley BART. So I want folks to know that the City of Berkeley has actually put in $53 million from the Affordable Housing Fund combined for both the North Berkeley and the Ashby BART stations. So for those of you, how many of you actually live in the neighborhood? Yeah, nice, so many of you, wonderful. I also live in the neighborhood, and we're really excited because we've already selected the partners for the North Berkeley BART station. That's 3 different affordable housing nonprofits. This is going to be a total of 739 apartments, and about half is going to be affordable housing. So really excited. The groundbreaking is slated for 2027. And then of course, we're here at Ashby, so let's talk about the Ashby BART station. For those of you that don't know, we've actually got 2 different lots here at the Ashby BART station. both the west lot, which is over there, that big parking lot there, but also we have the east lot, which is the lot that's right behind this building. So very exciting that we have both of these different lots. BART has been an amazing partner with us on both the North Berkeley BART station and also here at Ashby. They really have control over the North Berkeley BART station lot and then also here the west lot. But here at the City of Berkeley, we have an opportunity, a really exciting opportunity to imagine what it's going to look like there. And since we're over here by the Ed Roberts campus, I do want to make sure that I mention that universal design is something that the council has requested for this building here in the back, which is very exciting because we want to make sure that people are able to live near where they're working, where they're receiving services, where they're going to school. We want to make sure that affordability is an important part of the work that we're doing. And so just want to comment on, we'll have 602 units at the west lot, 50% of which have to be for households with low or very low incomes. That's really important. And if anything more than 602 units are built, 35% of that also has to be affordable on top of it. And then for the east lot, we're going to have a minimum of 300 bedrooms, 35% which will be affordable to low income, and with a goal of 50%. So I want to make sure I mention all that. I know there's a little more details there, but it's really important to me that the community understands that the City of Berkeley and BART are really partnering to make sure that we get affordable housing into our communities. Thank you. Thank you so much.
This project means so much to me. I mean, as you know, the elected director for this district of the Area Rapid Transit Board of Directors for 8 years. And this project was in my portfolio. Are there folks from Friends of Adeline here in the audience? Well, if you haven't met a Friends of Adeline activist, you should thank them because they worked so hard to ensure. I mean, how many meetings did we have? It felt like hundreds over the course of my time in the Area Rapid Transit to make sure, one, that the project was extremely affordable, that we didn't take anything away of what our residents deserve here, both the folks who will be in the developments and the folks in the surrounding space, and that we would save the Ashby Flea Market, which is so incredibly important. My dad sold incense at that flea market for 20 years when I was a kid. He was that guy. He bought his incense. So you want to get into Washington a little bit?
Yeah, we want to hear what's happening in
Let's
Washington.
talk about it. I mean, again, doing anything in Berkeley, this city is, I think folks vote in the 90% range. This is an organizer's space. So folks know, you know a lot of what's happening. And you sent me to Congress, not one to capitulate. Sure that the elderly lady in East Oakland who called the other day about a tree falling right in front of her house, we're there, we're servants, again, more than anything else. And so again, if you all can connect with our staff tonight, know that we're here. Any federal agency that you're having trouble accessing on a service level, we are right there. Again, whether it's Social Security, you're in need of a passport, someone has fallen ill overseas and you need to go see them immediately, let us know. So I'm really, really proud of that. But what I'm most proud of, in this time where the Trump administration has been hell-bent on freezing resources to our health clinics, again, to our research capability, including the CRISPR lab, we have brought back $491 million in grants alone in the first year and $500 million. January, we brought an initial, what we thought was going to be, a few $1 million. Now it's $11 million in project-specific grants straight from the appropriations process to fund health and public safety, and again, some wonderful, wonderful eco projects on our shorelines. So again, I'm helping on doing the work. We come to work all in that building and we leave late. I'm on the oversight committee. You all know that. Part of that work has been to attempt to hold the Trump administration accountable, but it's been tough given that, again, we don't have the gavel. But I have been right smack in the middle of the fight to open up the damn Epstein files. Yeah. Why? Transparency. And I gotta tell you, the folks on the other side of the aisle have been hell-bent on silencing these victims. And if those victims cannot get the justice that they are looking for and seeking, what about our young women on East 14th, right? So coming from 30 years of working with victims of sexual assault, coming from working for 30 years for victims of violent crime, particularly young women, I am clear that when we get back the gavel, we are going to get justice for those young women. And I will continue as a blatantly clear anti-war member of Congress, that we will continue to hold not only the Trump administration accountable. We all know that even before Trump was president, the Pentagon wasn't passing audits. They haven't passed audits in years. They failed their 8th consecutive audit. 8th. And it's $1 trillion budget. And so we know, as we continue to fight against funding ICE and funding that deportation machine, I will not send one dime over to ICE, but we also have to hold accountable areas of our government that have continued to trivialize our democracy. We want to continue to do that. I mean, can you imagine just taking 10% of the Pentagon's budget and putting it back into healthcare? These things are really excited about is the visioning that we're doing right now in the Dome to legislate like our lives depend on it, because Democrats have been slow to do that. But again, there is a new energy in the House. We've lost too much. So again, I can talk about, again, our foreign policy, which many of you know where I stand. We can talk about our economic stimulus work that we're pushing forward, again, on the Small Business Committee. But I actually really want to hear your questions. Our website is updated, almost every day, but this is an opportunity for me to hear, again, where you need us to be, and also for me to give you some of the answers about what I'm learning. But clearly, the constituents in California's 12th district, you run the show. So I'm here to listen, I'm here to learn, and I'm here to talk about what we're doing. Let's do it. Ready?
Yeah, and I do just want to highlight the point that you made, Congresswoman. It's so important to be thinking about the future. You may not hold the power right now, like you said, the gavel, but it's important that we're always thinking about what can we be doing going forward, and that we're preparing for that. So when we get to that moment, we're not wondering what to do next. So thank you. Do you want to sit? Do you want to stand? How would you like this? Because we're kind of low down. I guess we can stand when it's our question. Okay, that's fine.
So we've gotten a lot of questions about housing. That housing is unaffordable, especially in a high-cost area like Berkeley and in our district, and especially for seniors. So can you, Mayor, and then you, Congresswoman, talk a little bit about your work around affordable housing?
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much for that question. We really appreciate that. I talked a little bit about what's happening with our transit-oriented development, but there's also housing that's going up all around our city. I'm sure many folks have seen that housing. I'm really proud in particular of the work that I've been doing with Alameda County Mayor's Conference. I'm actually chairing our homelessness working group, which is with mayors around the county. So that work is incredibly important because we know that housing and homelessness, these are regional issues. They're not issues that just impact Berkeley or just impact Oakland. We don't have border walls in between our cities. Folks move in between them. And so it's important that we're looking at this issue as a regional issue. And on the county level, there's Measure W funding. We've been working very closely with our supervisor, Nikki Fortunata-Bass. She has been an incredible advocate to help make this process more transparent. In the past, folks have said, oh, the county, they're not giving us the funding, and we know they have it, but now we're able to say, hey, look, this is the funding that's available, this is when we're gonna be able to apply for it, and create more opportunities for us to have more affordable housing and also support our unhoused folks. So really wanna give a shout out to the supervisor. I know she wanted to make it today, but couldn't join us, so thank you for the question.
So, clearly, housing is number one. We've actually polled the district, and cost of living is number one. Of course, folks hate that we're at war. Folks, hate that we have the administration that has taken us back, 10 years in terms of, more than that, in terms of our environmental protections. But regular folks cannot afford to live in this district. I rent an apartment, and I've been looking to rent another apartment. I have a 30-year-old daughter who is married, a lawyer with a baby. I'm a grandmother. I'm still learning how to digest that. They're coming back from DC. She went to Howard Law, and she's a lawyer now, and they're coming back because they need to be around family. I also have a 15-year-old. I'm actually the only Democratic woman in the House with a school-age child who is a single mom. And they're all moving back to Oakland in my tiny apartment. And we're looking and we're looking and we're looking. I'm not a homeowner, and it is massively crazy. Yes, housing prices are lower in certain parts of our district than they have been in quite some time, but who can actually come up with $200,000 for a down payment? There's real work that needs to be done, and we cannot at all gaslight ourselves into saying that this is an affordable place to live, and it should be. I have just voted with, it's actually a very smart bill out of the Financial Services Committee. Maxine Waters, Auntie Maxine, say what you want, but the woman moves legislation, and it's a bipartisan bill to build millions of homes. I believe it will reach the president's desk. We actually found some common place. Republicans know, particularly in white, rural, and poor areas, and their folks under this president are suffering as well. And so this bill hopefully will move and be funded, and in our lifetimes, even in concretely blue districts, we will see some help. And what that will look like is money and resources, more resources available from HUD to move down to our county and our city spaces for what we believe should be dense housing, so that people can actually live where they work. Imagine your teachers being able to live where they work. Working people being able to actually have a place to call home for generations and generations. We know, we talk about this a lot, in South Berkeley and in developing this E&A process for the TOD development, we know that tens of thousands of people were removed from this district for eminent domain reasons. There's so much repair work to do. So not only will I be sponsoring and voting on bills in Congress, I'm going to continue my TOD work that I've done now for 8 years plus. West Oakland also has a new beautiful development that will be going up. You'll see it in our lifetimes that will host, again, almost 800 bedrooms, half being low income. It's going to be called the Mandela Station Project. We are really working to house people. It's a hard conversation, particularly in bedroom communities that have not seen dense housing, but just as long as single mothers are on lists for 10 years to get subsidized and low-income housing, as long as we have 8,000 people living on concrete in this district, cost of living and housing needs to be a priority for all of us. Every single good housing bill that comes into the Congress, I will support. I'm continuing to work with Bobby Wicks, who's fabulous on housing, and the wonderful state senator as well, to keep our eye extremely close to the state legislation. The other thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to say, and I never thought I would say it, family, but I'm growing in my role and in my own politics. I am begging folks to continue to invest in this district. I never thought that I would spend so much time face to face with absolute developers, like real life developers, the kind that I used to picket every single day, and say, don't leave Oakland, don't leave Berkeley, this project, don't abandon this project. You set heights and sites on developing here, 30% low income in some of these buildings. Don't send this mortgage back to the bank. We need those community benefit agreements that we fought for. So even on the local level, electeds have a responsibility to bring in resources, to bring in interest, and to sit with builders and tell them, do this the right way with community vision and input from the very beginning, because if you don't, it's not gonna go right. But stay here, we need housing here. So you can always count on us being a housing first office.
We have several questions talking about how this administration is terrorizing our immigrant communities. And so how are both of your offices protecting immigrant communities against ICE?
Yeah, thanks. I'm really happy to be able to talk about that. Many of you probably know that Berkeley is actually the first sanctuary city in the country. We have really worked to continue that work. So not only did we reestablish our sanctuary city status in 2025 last year, led by Councilmember Lateefah, who's here, but we've also done a lot of work to create a task force that works with our local community members that are doing work around immigration issues. So that's our lawyers, but it's also folks in education, folks who are serving our immigrant communities to make sure that they're bringing forward ideas that we're putting into place on a local level. So that means we've set aside $200,000 for Immigrant Defense Fund. $100,000 of that came from my office. We work to create ICE-free zones here in Berkeley. We have also, we've been doing just so much work to make sure that the community is prepared, so that if we ever have an invasion of ICE, because that's really what it is, it's an invasion, that we will be prepared here as a community. And I'm really proud also, our police department also put out a statement saying, we are a sanctuary city and we won't be assisting ICE. So I'm very proud of our police department.
I think the fears in my mind are very real. Some of you know that I spent some time in Minnesota over the last few months. You never think, in an extremely diverse American town, that our government would work so hard to continue to cover up the murder of 2 protesters. I can't describe what it felt like a few days after Renee Good's murder, being there with my very good friend Ilhan Omar and other members to stand at the site where she was murdered. And I told this story ad nauseam, but I'll tell it again because it is extremely important as we move through this conversation of what we must do. Because the question is, yes, it's about the immigrant injustice policies that they're putting forth, but to see at that moment going up and with the beautiful flowers and there were folks drumming, but there were about 200 white Protestant parishioners literally singing the Lord's Prayer over and over. And later that night, we went to a church and there were hundreds of folks there. Again, white, working class Catholics. And they were lifting up what we all know is so critical in the moment. Solidarity. And one of the women, one of the organizers, she was telling me that, at the end of that almost 2-month period, where the city was literally invaded by ICE agents, Americans, first Americans, they were saying that 2 things that you would hear at night, that you would hear the screams of folks being taken from their homes, the screams of real people, of children and of adults, sans due process. But you would also hear the whistles. And the whistles were from folks like us, many here who have a lot of privilege, whether it be, again, natural born citizenship, opportunities to organize. The whistles were about paying and bearing witness to the violation. And that witness has created so much movement. So yes, we can, as Democrats, pay witness to what's happening, but we also have a lot of work to do. And I will tell you, and as a new member, I've only been in office for a year and a half, the first few months, I was so pissed at my colleagues because what we would get every week, we would come into a room, a caucus room, and we would hear what the polls were saying. And folks would say, well, the polls are saying we shouldn't be talking about immigrants and we shouldn't be talking about trans kids and maybe we shouldn't talk about disabled folks. It doesn't bear well. But we know over 22 years ago when ICE was launched, it was mostly working class women, organizers all over this country saying, ICE is going to be the thorn in our side. And they were calling, many of these CBOs across the country, calling for the abolition of ICE right after 9/11, knowing full well that this agency would continue to not only break the law and be divisive to the Constitution, but target folks because of who they were and the color of their skin, sans investing in an immigration system that would absolutely and actually work. If you go downtown to the administration of immigration, the courts, they've lost most of their staff. The asylum courts are backed up tens of years. So our folks are wanting, who are coming here, who are seeking relief from devastation all over the world. They're seeking a process that I believe that they deserve. So we'll keep holding the line. I will keep holding the line on the floor every single day that we're in that building and there's an immigration vote that comes up. We have pushed and pushed, and the Democrats are waking up in the House, and they know that to win the House back, we have to have a politic of humanity. So that absolutely means not giving one more damn dime to this Democratic, undemocratic deportation. We'll continue to do it. So there has been a movement past inertia, again, with my colleagues in office, knowing that if we defend the least of us, the folks with the least amount of rights, we will all be in a better situation if we have done that. We have shown the country that the way to create better immigration policy is not literally propelling down from a Black Hawk helicopter into the homes of children and taking them out without clothes and zip tying their parents. That's not the way that good immigration policy happens in this country. I will always make the connection between the justice of all of us, again, and the justice of folks who are seeking refuge. And thank you so much for all of the work that's happening on the ground, because what Mayor is talking about, folks have been nervous to take their children to Children's Hospital for heart transplants and stem cell transplants and brain surgeries. I mean, we've had our physicians literally door knocking from the Children's Hospital to ensure that there is a pipeline and a lifeline of protection of folks who really deserve and need services. There is enough to go around, and ensuring that all 7 mayors, we've been working with all 7 mayors on their plans in their cities to ensure that, one, we're following the law, which we are, but we're also ensuring that our children can go to school and that our needy can eat, and the folks who need service can get to those services. I mean, that's the floor. That's not revolutionary work. That is the floor. We will fight back the deportation machine. In the meantime, we have to take care of each other. Thank you.
So I know the mayor has to leave in 5 minutes. So I wanted to focus one more question that's more local, and then we can really dig in on the federal level stuff. Can you talk more about what you're doing to support small businesses? It's really hard for small businesses to survive during this time with so many issues going on with public safety and access to funding. So can you talk about that, and also especially how you support minority and Black-owned businesses?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. I actually have been doing so much work in this area. Even before I was mayor, I was involved with the Lauren Business District Association, and actually I see Yvette here who's on that, who's chairing it. So thanks for being here, Yvette. And Yvette also runs Baobab, the Bay Area organization of Black-owned businesses. She's here. And we've done a lot of work together in making sure that the Lauren Business District, which is this area right here, continues to be thriving. We know that many of our local businesses have told us, look, we're struggling after the pandemic, we never really fully recovered. I actually go out and visit businesses myself. Our goal is to reach every single business in the city, and we've already been to hundreds of businesses. Just going in, introducing myself, telling businesses about our Office of Economic Development, which does amazing work in our city to help our local businesses navigate these different systems. It can be really overwhelming just doing all the paperwork that's required to be a business. And I know our Office of Economic Development has also worked to make it more streamlined to get a business license. They actually won an award for that work. And being out in the community also means connecting with our business districts. We have so many active business districts around the city of Berkeley. We have a great Chamber of Commerce. We also partner very closely with Visit Berkeley, which is our tourism bureau. If you haven't met Jeffrey Church already, he's incredible, and we love partnering with him. We're actually doing some really exciting partnerships already for the World Cup that's coming up. I don't know if folks heard, but the Roots Stadium is going to actually have the Australian team as they're practicing, and they're staying over at the Claremont. So they thought that was in Berkeley. It's not in Berkeley, but it's right on the line. And so we're looking very much, it's Berkeley-ish. And so we're really looking forward to hosting folks from Australia that are going to be coming and staying basically in our city, and hosting all kinds of viewing parties throughout the city. All of this is really important to bring vitality, to help support our local businesses, help bring in tourism dollars, because we know that with a struggling economy, we can't just keep taxing people. We also need to make sure we're looking at other sources of revenue, and that includes tourism. So I'm really proud of the work we're doing around small businesses. And actually, I do want to just give a quick shout out, since you talked about Black and brown businesses. I also want to highlight women-owned businesses, and there's a really exciting space that just opened up in South Berkeley called Our Space, which is a co-working space for women, femmes, queer folk, and it's really exciting that that's here in South Berkeley. So I wanted to share that.
I will be quick here. The Small Business Committee, it's not the committee that a lot of the Democrats love. Well, I love it, and I've actually gotten legislation out of that committee. What's so encouraging is that in our hearings, we get to beat down a little bit of the craziness that's going on with SBA. Small businesses in our region are suffering. I mean, you would think that COVID was, 2 years ago in our elections, you all know this. And what small businesses are asking for, they need help with public safety resources. I actually just introduced a bill last week that just got out of committee to support small businesses with cyber security attacks, and that SBA must actually provide more resource for these folks to come back. The world has changed so much, and so many of our small businesses, again, are led by elders in this community and immigrants in our community who are consistently attacked by these fraudsters. I want to do everything that I can for the small business corridors in the district, and that means also having our office open 5 days a week to calls from small businesses who are seeking SBA support. There is money there for you, whether it is loans or literally 0% interest grants that don't need to be paid back. It is our job to help you access those resources. So please know that my office wants to do as much as we can to ensure that our folks have access, again, to those resources, but also technical and training opportunities through SBA. Super important. We just did an amazing, what do you call it? It's like a kind of a merchant walk with Yemenis owned businesses in the district. And there are over 10,000 plus Yemenis community members in our district. And for every immigrant community and folks who are not immigrants, we need to have a bus link and throw down to business acumen to ensure that our folks stay. I mean, in downtown Oakland, this isn't Oakland, but in downtown Oakland, I can't buy my kid a backpack, right? Retail, family-owned retail, and small businesses are indeed the backbone of our community. If you need small business help, please contact our office. And so with that, Mary, I just really want to thank you so much for all that we do. Thank you so much for working with our office for the appropriations process this year. We did bring some resources back to the firehouse. We need to bring more. In a Trump presidency, we can still fight for resources. Give it up for your mayor. By the way, we've done a couple of town halls together. This is my office's 14th town hall. So we want to continue to be out in these C12 streets. So let's get some of your voices. I'm going to go sit next to you. Okay, great.
All right, the question that we were seeing a lot on the federal level is, how are you fighting the war in Iran?
Well, I'm going to vote hell no every single time there's an opportunity, again, for any bombs to go to any countries. The moral power of this country is built on the power of diplomacy. And again, I don't think about conflict with rose-colored glasses, but what I do know and understand that we're not safer because we're spending $1 billion a day on the Iran war. We know that. War powers resolutions have come to the floor, I believe now 3 times. And when we're talking about winning back the House, should not just to be about red and blue. These war power resolutions have lost by 1 vote and 2 votes. Last week, we actually had the votes. And the Speaker of the House decided to yank the resolution off the floor. Did you all see that? The cowardice. But guess what? We can't be on recess forever. So next week, we know that there is another war power resolution, and we believe we have the votes to stop this craziness. $1 billion a day. All while, we cannot forget, Medicaid and Medicare are going to be ripped out of the hands of folks who deserve them. 17 million American people this year will see a drastic shift in what we believe is their right to health care, while we're spending $1 billion a day. I'm speaking to the choir, but never in a day will a vote come from this district that is pro-war. And I will say, the tide is changing. Did you see in the Senate? In the Senate, finally, folks are getting some gumption to vote away, again, this addiction to sending bombs over to the Middle East. The children in Gaza today are living in literal hell, and we cannot be funding the subjugation of human beings anywhere. And so whether it's Iran, Cuba, I will always stand up and do the uncomfortable forces that will give me a ton of death threats. They all do. But it's the truth. It's the truth. It's not ideology. This country can do much better in terms of securing our borders and securing, again, other economies around the country without bombing them. I think we should fight again with our might instead of these tanks and bombs. And so, again, I would love to hear your more thoughts about the war in Iran, but you know where we stand.
Thank you, Congresswoman. What are you doing to address the stagnant minimum wage?
Again, it costs $200,000 in cash down to buy a house in this district. Well, I don't have one. Our care workers, the folks who are going to take care of us in our last days, they can't afford a 2-bedroom. That woman who is a CNA who's working at an elderly long-term care home that I talked to last week right here in Berkeley, she can't afford a 2-bedroom. She sleeps in a room with her 3 children. And she's on the list to get one of them in daycare right now. A family member is watching them. So she's taking care of folks with dignity and love, and she doesn't have care for her own children. And she can't, again, stay in her home, so they'll have more space and place to breathe. The minimum wage conversation is real. I am a co-sponsor for the national push, it's legislation, to increase the minimum wage to $25 an hour. And I understand the small businesses, that's difficult, why it's important to have a rollout plan, local and national legislation, and again, support to small businesses around the country. Again, to join their larger corporate counterparts to pay people what they deserve. Again, small businesses are going to need the leg up to make this happen. There has to be an undercurrent of support for them, but we can no longer, not just here in the Bay Area, but no longer around the country, discount the hardest working people and pay them the less. The folks who are working with their full bodies in this country are the poorest Americans, and that absolutely has to stop. $25 an hour still here in the Bay Area lends you severely low income. You can still apply and receive housing subsidies. That's how expensive the economy has gotten. Your gas is more expensive than anywhere else in the country. I'm in DC, it's still more expensive here. That's again because of a war, it's because of tariffs. We know very, very clearly that the road ahead is raising the cost of pay. It's really, really important that folks actually can retire with dignity. We're so far from that. But I am a co-sponsor from that bill. I put all of it, really excited to see it through.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one more question since we got several of these. And then my colleagues, Helser and Brian, raise your hands. We'll be running the microphone around and we'll bring it straight to you. So while we answer this question, they will locate somebody in the audience. There are folks who are concerned about the increasing role and influence of AI technology and autonomous vehicle industries. How do we protect those who are underserved and disabled?
It's often the conversation that's not happening about AI, right? I mean, there's AI and there's a lot of experts here in this room right now who know and understand the possibilities, but also the very, very difficult determinants to a future with AI. But disabled folks, to me, that's who I'm listening to around, again, the possibilities of an emerging technology that is changing our lives in the moment. And again, those are the folks, like the folks at the Center for Independent Living, that are guiding so much of our policies and how we're moving forward. And I want to continue working with you, Dr. Panetta, and anyone else in this room, as we have, again, an accelerated voice around the future and actually the current of AI. I've met with all of the big guys, the Anthropics and the OpenAIs and the smaller companies in the district and beyond. And the way this conversation is moving and growing, we know that the world will be a very different one than it is right now, just in months to come. That being said, for disabled people to have a technology that shifts our ability to move to and fro, it's extremely important. AI, again, as a sector, we can talk about data centers, we can talk about, again, job loss, which my office is working very, very closely with our union partners to understand and analyze. one of the things that I want to say is that the future of AI cannot be determined by the folks who are making it. It can extract sources from, again, our data centers to the technology itself. It's extremely important that legislators and activists and organizers are pushing our way into rooms, and so that we can go beyond talking and create, again, an economy that works for all of us, an AI economy that works for all of us. And that actually means, particularly in communities of color, demanding that, again, when new technology and its infrastructure is coming into our communities, what do we want? We want good air to breathe, and we want good, clean water. And these folks have to be held accountable, but we also have to encourage the innovation. I mean, I cannot wait. And my dad used to tell me years ago, again, as a visually impaired, legally blind woman, one day, Lateefah, cars are gonna drive themselves. Really, Daddy? You know, because I've never driven a car. And I used to say, you mean I'm never gonna be able to be fully independent? I'm always going to have to wait for someone to take me to and fro. So there are so many exciting opportunities, and yet we have to keep our eyes on the prize. Again, there are parts of this nation where the drinking water is opaque because of data centers coming into our communities. But I'm also talking to, again, disabled folks, visually impaired folks, who are so excited about companies like Science Corp curing blindness with new innovation that is really charged by artificial intelligence, or folks who have very rare cancers, like my late husband did, being diagnosed a lot earlier because the technology is, again, changing the way that radiology works. So again, definitely a learning curve in my space, but we have been joined by progressive Democrats and organizations that are working with my office every single day as legislation comes to us, how to look at the veneer of, again, who wins and who loses, and how do we advance the conversation with our values. So thank you so much for that question.
I think we have a person in the audience that is ready to ask a question. Please go ahead. And then if you'd like to also have our staff member come to you, you can raise your hand. We'll find you next.
Hello, thank you so much.
Can you tell me your name?
Oh, sorry, my name is Kathy Kenny. I live in Oakland. I also wanted to thank you for all the support that you've given to the Palestinian community, which I'm a part, and to the people who are fighting against this horrible violence in Gaza and in Palestine. I'm here with some colleagues from the Gaza Action Squad of Indivisible. And
I love a squad.
Exactly. And I guess what I'd like to ask is, we would like to have a further conversation with your staff in DC, probably about policy stuff. We could follow it carefully. And so I wonder if you could put us in touch with some other folks, another staff person that we could talk to and maintain a conversation.
So the question again about is, absolutely, we have staff here and we'll connect every day in our office. You should know. First of all, Berkeley travel. I like every organization you could possibly imagine, particularly our anti-war folks. Y'all are flying in and we're meeting with our team both here, you know, in Oakland, in our Oakland office, but also in DC. I'm so thankful for that. Block the Bombs is amazing. The fact that there's only 68 members of Congress, I believe, on that resolution is crazy to me. What we're saying is like, let's block the bombs, let's literally do the right thing, and yet it is still radical to be anti-war in Congress. I am absolutely pro-us, meaning us. And so I think it makes a total sense to talk about the devastating genocide and name it, and also be clear and understand that I can talk about the love and the future and the history of our beautiful Jewish brothers and sisters. And as a Muslim, know that literally we all deserve to live in peace. That means children in the Gaza Strip. It means, again, children in South Berkeley. It means children in Central and Northern Africa. It means children in Israel. So I want to continue to have the conversations with you all. And again, when folks say it's complicated, peace is not complicated. And And as we have more leaders who are willing and wanting to have the hard conversations of what peace can look like abroad and here on our soil, I want to be in that conversation with you. So thank you so much for lifting it up and considering, you know, these men who run these countries, it's the last thing that they want to really do is actually create spaces where our young people can grow old, but I'm committed to that.
Hi, Congresswoman. Thank you
Hello.
so much for being for the education and take time to come over here to talk with us. And my last question was because can you talk to the government about the immigration of like Vietnamese community come to visit me because it's hard to like because when I go back to Vietnam and I want to invite some people like come to visit me and something like that. So how we can talk to the government about approve the visa so how we can come to visit me.
Your question is so smart because it actually gets to the nucleus of the conversation around immigration. That's the question. It's beautiful constituent. What's your name?
Oh, my name is Kian.
Thank you so much. I want to make sure, Helser, the crew, that you get Sky, make sure that you all connect. Everyone in this room, if you have issues and you need help with immigration, we're there to help you. The system, in fact, is extremely broken. I went to a beautiful class of folks going through the immigration process, the citizenship process, right in the Fruitvale in Oakland. And these are folks who are working 2 and 3 jobs and paying taxes, and many of them have been in the process for almost a decade, which makes no sense. We know that the billions of dollars of taxes paid by immigrant communities, folks who are, again, in the green card process, the asylum process, and there's just not the infrastructure to see all of these folks who are trying to play by the rules to get them through the system. I want to make sure that you have access to my office. But again, it's not just about what we hate. I hate this deportation machine. I hate the fact that there are children right now in concentration camps. We will not have one in this district. We will absolutely not have who are struggling with their citizenship. We won't let it happen. In the interim, we're here to do whatever we can to make sure that you advocated for in the process. So please see us. I want to look forward and ahead to creating an immigration system that is, in fact, just and that is efficacious. And again, from its own technologies to our courts actually having judges that understand what these folks are going through. This is, unfortunately, we have a partisan immigration court right now. We have a partisan Supreme Court right now. And as we close, I mean, I know that there have been questions that have come in about the Supreme Court. I mean, I'm so pissed about what some have called the Roberts Court. It's really the Trump Court. Immigration justice, again, our environmental justice work that we put so much time in. Again, the work that we've been doing to ensure that IDA continues. You know, there are folks in this building who are working so hard to ensure that the Americans with Disabilities Act isn't tanked in this administration. Everything that we have fought for is absolutely on the line, but that actually doesn't mean that we quit, right? I want you all to continue to push our office. What I have been clear about, and one of my mentors just died 2 days ago, Clarence Jones, he was saying to me, it's Martin Luther King speechwriter and lawyer, he had been saying to me for years, as things get bad, a lot of folks will freak out, but unfortunately, these are not crises, he would say, these are reoccurrences. So as we're seeing the attack on our liberties, the attack on the idea that people can come to this country and grow and build family and receive education and be the best and the brightest, and that we can have a community that has 150 languages spoken, all of those issues are up not only for debate now, we're in danger of losing the protections, but that just means we fight harder. So I want to thank you all so much. Again, there's so much more we can talk about. But I want to let you know every damn day, voting again with our values. I don't care what it costs me personally. And you all did have to come in through security. And I don't want to gaslight you and say that that won't ever happen again. Being an anti-war, again, Black woman in Congress in this moment, who refuses to capitulate, even again with members of our own party, it's dangerous work, but it's the work that must be done. You all deserve it. You deserve someone who gets on the floor every single day and speaks the truth and thinks about our children, thinks about our disabled folks, thinks about the future of this country. So thank you all so much.